David Culpepper is in our studio, an Army veteran and facility director of the Jim Proffitt apartment. How are you, sir?
I'm doing just fine. Thanks
Great,
for having me.
Great. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is something, transitioning veteran housing. It's a very difficult thing for a lot of people coming back.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And the data shows that a lot of veterans experience homelessness within the first 5 years of discharging their service. And it tends to be young men and women who are enlisted, the lower ranks, private, second, third, fourth class, an increasing number of women. Yeah, and that is a tremendous need. Transitional housing for homeless women who, as you know, women tend to be single mothers, and there's not that many, very few transitional housing facilities for not let alone women, but women with their children.
Children, yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of need, that is, I would say, the biggest need.
I never even thought of that. How many of these women are mothers when they come out of the service? Or is it sometime thereafter? Do you have, you know what I'm saying?
Well, at any given time, there's about 55,000 homeless female veterans.
Wow.
Yeah. But I can say in Chicago, there's not that many. Actually, there's one program in the entire state of Illinois that is dedicated to transitional housing for homeless women veterans. And they have to satisfy certain criteria. They have to have mental or physical disabilities, and there's only 10 beds for the entire state of Illinois.
Say that again?
10 beds. Yes.
10 beds in the entire state for women who are
for homeless women veterans. Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
No. The data shows that there's several homeless women veterans, but as far as why the VA hasn't really put more funding or programming behind that is, I don't know. It's anyone's guess. Yeah.
Well, David, you are tell us about what you're doing.
Well, I'm a director of a transitional housing facility, and I guess I can talk about transitional housing while I'm here.
Sure, please.
Because there's not nearly enough homeless veterans who utilize services out there, and it is a big task for the city of Chicago to actually find these homeless veterans. So, I would urge anyone who's listening, who is a homeless veteran or who knows a homeless veteran to reach out to your local VA. Chicago would be Jesse Brown or Hines or anywhere where you are in this country. If you're Texas, California, New York, there is services for you. And transitional housing, or GPD, is what a term you might hear, but it's the same thing. GPD, transitional housing. That is a service that, like I said, not many veterans utilize, but there's also a lot of homeless prevention out there for homeless veterans. So if you're a veteran who is in arrears of your rent, or if you need your lights and gas cut on, there's funds for you. There is. There is funds.
That's good. A lot of people may not know that.
No.
You're behind in your rent, or as you mentioned, your utilities and so forth.
And if you're out in the street, there's a bed for you somewhere. In Chicago, we have some close to 200. In Illinois, we have close to 250 beds, and I would guess that they're not full all the time. So there's always going to be a vacancy somewhere. With our agency, there's usually a bed or two open at any day. So it's better than being out on the street.
Now, that's a good statement you made, David, because some people don't want to go to homeless shelters. You know, I'm not talking about, this is not a veterans thing.
Exactly.
I'm talking about there are folks who would rather stay out in the street
Exactly.
than to go to the place. I would suggest, and you'd like you to tell us, that's a different circumstance with a veteran, transitional veteran housing, right?
Well, it's not a shelter.
That's what I'm saying.
And I'm not gonna name any shelters in Chicago.
No,
they're all
but
infamous,
you know what we're talking
and
about. Yeah, sure.
But a transitional housing facility is, a far cry above a shelter.
Mm-hmm. There's a difference, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in a transitional housing program, you're assigned a bed. It's not like a day shelter where you have to claim your bed every day. You got to wait in line. You may or may not get a bed that night. But when you enter a GPD program, again, it's the same thing. Transitional housing, you're assigned a bed, and it's yours for the duration of the program.
Mm-hmm.
Added to which, the point of view being in a GPD program is to get housed. So housing will be offered to you quite often. Quite often.
That's good. Do you think, what are the numbers? Tell us, what are the numbers here, Jim Proffitt, and I'm sorry, David, David Culpepper. Tell us the numbers.
How many beds?
Yeah.
Well, in the Jim Proffitt apartments, we have 50 beds.
Okay, there's 50 there.
Right. But our agency, we operate 3 transitional housing facilities. So out of all 3 of them total, we have 100 beds available.
Okay.
With some what are called alternate beds. So there's a little extra, So yeah, with our agency alone, there's 100 beds at any given time. And all you have to do is register at your local VA. There's a little bit of, formality involved. You have to register. You have to be approved. And another thing, even if you have an OTH, which is an other than honorable discharge, you may still qualify for not only transitional housing, but for homeless services. You may still you may still qualify for housing other than transitional housing. You may qualify for permanent housing, and that's something that a lot of veterans may not get, because you think OTH, I don't qualify for anything, but no, there's housing is still offered.
What OTH mean?
OTH is other than honorable. So you have honorable,
right?
General under honorable, which is the same thing. You have the dishonorable. If you're dishonorable, you don't get anything.
Nothing, right.
But there's also other than honorable.
Yeah,
that is not a dishonorable discharge. It's an other than honorable discharge. And although you may not qualify for medical benefits or financial benefits, you may still qualify for housing. Now that is important.
It is important.
That is important.
Sure.
Because guys call me all the time
Yeah.
looking for non-veteran beds. But I tell them, hey, you can qualify for this GPD program and just get the ball rolling, and you'll be offered housing, as in be offered keys and, get permanent housing. But, these are things that this information needs to get out there, which is why I really appreciate this show,
Well, we appreciate you being here. You just said something else, David, that was very meaningful. Offered keys. That's a total difference than the shelter right there. Yeah.
Right. Because the GPD it's transitional housing. So if you're out on the street or couch surfing, come on into transitional housing. It's not a shelter. You'd be offered your bed. At least my facility, I keep it cool. No, it's not jail. You know? It's transitional housing, and you're among fellow veterans, and usually you're same age, same background, same experiences. And the point in being in a transitional housing facility is to transition to permanent housing. Now, ever since the Obama administration started this push to house homeless veterans, that has been in earnest. People need to understand that.
Oh, that's
oh
good.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That I was invited in 2014 to be part of the initiative, when it first started. And the energy in that room, I say room, but it was more like a giant conference hall. Our local VA here in Chicago, Jesse Brown, invited, I'd say, everyone who was involved with housing homeless veterans, and we all got together. It was a grassroots thing, we all got together and we came up with ideas and even plans on how to house the veterans. And now in 2019, that is in full steam.
That's great.
Full steam.
How long ago was that first meeting you were talking about?
2014.
14, yeah.
Right.
And that was during the Obama.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, to put that in context, this is why I say transitional housing is so important. To put that in context, before this 2014 initiative, I got to be honest, wasn't really much offered by the VA or even HUD for homeless veterans. I mean, as a veteran, I saw that, and it kind of hurt me, But what I did appreciate was that transitional housing was offered. Now, that's cool. If I ever fell on hard times, I know that there's a bed for me, which is a far cry better than person living out in a tent or whatnot. Sure. But it's now today it's to the point where veterans are out there in the street homeless. They contact us and they're already linked up with the housing program. They just need a bed for about 10 days. And they're gone. As in, they come in, they've already been working with a housing program, which is separate from transitional housing. And they've been working with their housing case manager. They've been looking at apartments, having their apartments inspected. And it's just a matter, in some cases, of just waiting for them to sign a lease. It's that fast now.
That's great.
It's that fast.
That's great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the program is doing very well then. If someone has a question or a comment, 312-374-8130 is the number. We are so pleased to be talking with David Culpepper, an Army veteran and facility director of the Jim Proffitt Apartments. We're so pleased to have him in here. We're discussing, of course, transitioning, I should say, veteran housing, because this is something that you want people to come.
Yes.
And
yes. I would urge any veteran who's experiencing homelessness or is at imminent risk of being homeless to contact their local VA for assistance, because there is assistance. It's a silly thing to say, but it is a pretty good time to be a homeless veteran because there's just so much offered.
That wasn't before.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. In Chicago, the VA just pumped $6 million into this very specific pilot program, to house veterans. And the assistance that this program is designed to provide is up to 24 months of housing assistance. That is incredible compared to what we had, in 2014. And a lot of...
Say that again? You have...
Well, 2014, it wasn't there just wasn't much.
I got you.
There weren't a lot of housing programs other than the transitional housing program.
Great, okay.
The VA more or less wasn't serious about it.
Got you.
Everyone in I would say the continuums across the country, we all had the same problem. We need vouchers. We need housing resources, apartments, linkages with landlords, and more money. And that's why I say it was a grassroots effort, because the VA, although they're a bureaucracy, they're kind of slow moving, but they're earnest. Now today, it's we're realizing the efforts that we put in back then.
That's great.
Oh yeah,
very good. Let's take a call for our guest, Joel. How you doing? WVON 1680, America's Heroes Group.
How you doing, Cliff?
Fine, Joel. Thanks for calling.
Thanks. Well, my question was, I'm, I guess you could say, like a mom and pop landlord, and I've worked throughout the years with the Section 8 program, and I kind of got burned out with the program. But I was just sitting here listening, and I was wondering, what kind of avenues do you have for landlords that might be interested in possibly renting out some rooms or some apartments to some veterans, either as transitional housing, as you called it, or possibly do they have like some type of funding similar to some type of programs that possibly landlords could qualify for?
Well, Joel, the VA has stopped approving new transitional housing programs. So although there are transitional housing programs now, all of the transitional housing programs have already gotten their grants approved.
I don't know what that was.
Yeah. So if and it's too bad that you were kind of fatigued by the Section 8 process. You don't necessarily. Well, HUD-VASH is a program that's offered to veterans, and that's what you would encounter as a landlord.
What is that?
A HUD-VASH is a Section 8 voucher that the VA sponsors, so it's the same thing.
HUD-VASH?
Yeah, HUD-VASH is Section 8, so it's the same thing, but it's sponsored by the VA. So those are,
Is that VASH?
Yeah, VASH, Veterans Affairs Supportive Housing. So if a veteran approaches you saying he has a VASH voucher, it is a Section 8 voucher because it's issued by CHA. But if you don't want to deal with CHA, and I know a lot of landlords have problems with the inspection process and dealing with CHA, there's other programs at SSVF. It is another housing program. It's Supportive Services for Veteran Families. It's SSVF. That is also a program that pays a veteran for housing. So if you don't want to go the CHA route, you can. What I would suggest you to do is go to your local VA. If you're in Chicago, go to Jesse Brown. They have housing fairs, I believe, the first Friday of every month. And you go there and you can talk to the homeless department, and they can explain all of the ins and outs. But you have VASH, which is Section 8, but you also have SSVF. SSVF doesn't have a CHA component. So if you kind of burnt out with CHA, go to SSVF route, but it's still a funding source for you as a landlord. And thank you, because we need the landlords to help our veterans, and I really appreciate it, Joel. Thank you very much. Spread the word.
Thank you.
Joel, thank you for your call. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Cliff.
You're welcome, sir. No, that's great information. We're continuing with David Culpepper, Army veteran and facility director of the Jim Proffitt Apartments. We're talking about transitioning veteran housing, and very important. Let's take another caller. Joey is calling from Harvey. Joey, hi.
Hello, Mr. Kelly. This is Jerry from Harvey. Listen, I have two concerns. I know where one veteran has been homeless for 4 years. He's at the intersection of 114th and Ellis. There's a lot of brush there, so you can't see it right away. His name is Dan. If you just call his name, he'll come out from the brush. Then I have another veteran who has had a stroke and a heart attack is in the nursing home at 9401 South Ridgeland. His name is Alon Lewis. I wish you could get somebody over there to see whatever they could do to help these two veterans that fought for our country. I hope I didn't talk too fast.
I want to make sure you didn't. Just hold on, because David is taking this
I'm trying to write down this information.
So give it again, because he wants to make sure he gets this.
Oh, please do. Yeah. The veteran is living outside homeless for 4 years. His name is Dan, D-A-N. He's at the intersection of 114th and Ellis. There's a lot of weeds growing there, and he lives behind these weeds.
And that's in Harvey?
That's in the city of Chicago, 114th and Ellis.
Okay. And the other fellow is 94th and Ridgeland?
9401 Ridgeland. It's a nursing home there, and his name is Alon. That's Allon. Last name Lewis, Lewis. These are veterans that served our country. Please help them. Please.
Thank you very much. And we have outreach teams that work every day, and I will pass this information to them, and they will locate these veterans. No problem at all.
We certainly appreciate your call. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Thank you for calling.
That's
great.
Important. Yeah, exactly what we need. We need people to tell us where these homeless veterans are. And this, these two veterans may or may not know that there's services.
Yeah. There's a lot of folks who don't know.
That's awesome.
That are eligible for these.
And can I also say one thing? If anyone knows of where a veteran or non-veteran is outside. This is important. It's outside. Please have them contact. Well, you can call 311. Always do that, or contact Feather Fist. Our phone number is 773-721-7088. 773-721-7088. And as I said, we have 2 night outreach teams that all they do every night is they go out and they roam the city looking for homeless individuals and families.
Where does that name come from, David? Featherfist.
Oh, you asked me last time, Cliff. You asked me last time, and
I did. Did I do that?
You made me sweat. Well, our esteemed president, she was kind of she was pressed for years on what the meaning of that is, and she finally caved in. I want to say maybe 2 years ago. It's like an old tribal. It's something to do with feather fist.
Right.
So it's the power of the fist with the purpose of the feather.
Gotcha.
This supposedly goes back to tribal powwow sessions. Where you would speak, and the purpose of the powwow would be represented by the type of feather you would have, and anyone holding a feather had the floor. They can speak.
We have a number for Feather Fist. That 773-721-7088.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
That's the number. That is great. What else? We got a few minutes left. Mr. Culpepper. Is
Well,
again,
I mean, I can't say this enough. Anyone who is experiencing homelessness or is at imminent risk of being homeless needs to contact their local VA. There's local VAs all throughout this country. Every state, Alaska, obviously, there's a lot of states that have more beds than others.
Right.
But it's still surprising to me how many veterans are not aware of this benefit. But I guess it shouldn't, because I'm a veteran and I didn't know about the grant per diem transitional housing until I actually worked for Feather Fist. So. You hear about the educational benefit, medical benefits, but you're not told that if you're homeless,
right,
that there's, and I'm talking about a lot of benefits now. If you're 4 months arrears in your rent, you can qualify for all of that being paid.
That's great.
Right, because the VA is also focusing on prevention. So preventing homelessness. Yeah, so you got utilities that need to be paid. You got back rent. And this is all throughout the country. So I want people in New York to understand. I want people in California to understand. I want people in Michigan, which has surprisingly a large amount of transitional housing beds, all throughout this country, that there's help for you. And even if you're OTH, don't worry, contact your local VA and see if you qualify. 9.5 times out of 10, you would qualify for this homeless program.
That is so. OTH stands for other than honorable. Right.
Us veterans would know what that.
Yes, that's right. But I just want to make sure that people know that. You are nothing short than just great, David Culpepper.
This program is great. I appreciate you providing this platform for us, and I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you because you put out just some great information that all of our veterans and our listeners, people, a lot of folks who listen are not veterans, but they know veterans and they have family members and so forth.
I hope they spread the word.
That's what we want. And we have people like you that just get out just great information that you wouldn't know about. No. Unless, why would you know?
Exactly.
And so, we have people like you who are just experts at what you do, and we just appreciate you.
Well, it's an honor to be here, to work with my fellow veterans, and to see a lot of these guys, and hopefully more women to get housed.
Right. Thanks again.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.